we are on the chapter 9, that is money market and capital market. We were discussing about the money market. In money market, we have seen in Indian money market comprised of two sectors, that is organized sector and unorganized sector. In organized sector, we have discussed about the RBI, central bank, that is RBI. Then we have discussed in the previous lecture, that is commercial bank. Today we will discuss about the cooperative bank as well as development financial institute. We will discuss on that. Before starting with the cooperative bank, as usual, we'll have a small revision on the previous lecture, that is commercial bank. Let's discuss the commercial bank and its functions. Commercial bank. Commercial bank. Commercial bank is the bank which is for the people. It is reservoir because as the lake collects a huge amount of water and supply to that particular area. Same way, the commercial bank has a huge amount of money which supply for the see towards the money supply. Now, friends, commercial bank main function is to accept deposit and lend money. So one of the economists has told that commercial bank is a bank which deals with accepting deposit and dealing in credit. So commercial bank is the bank. Commercial bank is bank dealing in accepting deposits and dealing in deposits and credit. So commercial bank plays very important role in day-to-day economic development. All the industry, trade, commerce are revolving around the banking system. With the help of banking system, with the help of commercial banking and with the help of banking system, it makes easier for economic development and all the commerce, trade and industries, it becomes easier for them for their routine activities. So commercial bank plays very important role not only in the industry, trade and commerce, but also in the individual, it also plays very important role in individual life for saving and taking loans. So the commercial bank is the bank will take the idle, whoever is having an idle money can deposit in it and earn interest, and the person who are required of money can take loan and pay interest. So as I have told you, commercial bank on one hand will take the idle money and pay interest, on other hand will give the money to people who require and take the interest. The difference between those will be the profit. So yes friends, commercial bank is a business organization. It's a profit seeking business organization. There are certain functions of commercial bank. Let's see one by one. The functions of commercial bank. The functions of commercial bank. The very first function we have seen, friend, is accepting deposit. Accepting deposit means whoever is having an idle money can deposit their money in any of the commercial bank. The bank will accept the deposit. On behalf of the deposit, it will give them interest on the whatever amount has been deposited in that particular account. Now accepting deposit is bifurcated into two terms, that is demand deposit and time deposit, friends. That is demand deposit and time deposit. What is demand deposit and what is time deposit? Very correct. Demand deposit can be withdrawn on the demand by the customer and its client, whereas time deposit time deposit is for that, but can be that particular period of time or after the maturity. So demand deposit can be withdrawn on demand, whereas time deposit can be repaid on maturity. Can be repaid on maturity. So also I'll give you 10 seconds to recall what was demand deposit and time deposit, then we'll start with the further. The commercial bank very first function is accepting deposit. Accepting deposit, it is bifurcated in demand deposit and time deposit. Demand deposit is withdrawn on demand, time deposit is repaid on the maturity. Demand deposit, it has two accounts. One is current account, another one is saving account. Now what is current account? Current account is basically opened by the business person or the industrialized, who in this one special feature is that the person can withdraw their money in excess of the amount that is having in its account. That is overdraft facility. What I have told, the person can withdraw the money from excess of the amount which is in his account, that is in current account, that is known as overdraft facility. Saving account can be opened by any of the person, it can be a housewife also, and small amount of interest is paid on the saving account. Then time deposit is again divided into two parts. It is recurring account and fixed account. Now, what is recurring account? This amount can be like the small shopkeepers or small scale industries or small business people can recurringly fix their amount in the bank. Recurringly again and again the fixed amount can be fixed in the bank. Fixed deposit means a lump sum amount is fixed for a certain period of time, say 5 years, but that amount cannot be withdrawn. If it is withdrawn, the interest would be very less or there can be no interest. So this was the accepting deposit. The second function was advancing loan. It is advancing loan, or we can say providing loans and advance. Providing loans and advance. Now, loans. Whatever amount which has been deposited in the bank is not kept idle. They will start creating in loans and earn interest on it. So there are different kinds of loan. There are, we can say, call loan, short-term loan, medium-term loan, and long-term loan. What are call loan? That is for 10 to 15 days. It can be called overnight by the bank itself whenever they feel okay, this is the correct time to call the money back. Short-term loan are usually for 1 to 2 years. The interest is usually higher than the call loans. Medium-term loans are basically for 2 to 5 years. Interest is higher than that of call loan and short-term loan. And long-term loans are more than above 5 years. It can be used for replacement of asset or something. The amount is the interest is usually highest in the long-term loan. Then overdraft, the facility that was given on the to the current account holder, it's also a term of loan. So the overdraft, it also comes under the loan which is given to the current account holder. Then trade bill, discounting of bills, promissory note also comes under the advancing of loans. Then the third, both the first and second comes under the primary functions of commercial bank. The second one was an auxiliary function. Now an auxiliary function means commercial banks provide many other auxiliary functions like works as an agency, purchase and sale securities, doing a payment, periodical payment, the wallet facility in the bank it provides, e-banking system. So these are the certain auxiliary function that is given by the commercial bank to its customer. It comes under the secondary function. And the last and the least one is it also provides credit creation. It does credit creation. What does credit creation means? By one account, a person who has deposited the money in the bank, that money will be converted into giving loans and all, and that 5,000, 10,000 loan will go up to creating a credit and credit. So it is known as credit creation. These are the certain functions which we have discussed in brief in the previous lecture. Today we'll start with the another organized sector of money market is cooperative banks. So let's discuss on the cooperative banks. Now, what are cooperative banks? Before starting with cooperative bank, I will like you to give 20 seconds to recall, understand. Once again, if you have any doubt, you can ask in doubt session. You can ask in doubt session. I'll give you 20 seconds for it. Let's discuss about cooperative banks. The cooperative banks comes into existence in 19th century, that is 1904. So it comes into existence of cooperative credit in 1904. Cooperative Credit Society. So the first point would be it comes into existence of Cooperative Credit Society 1904. It supplements the efforts of commercial bank for meeting the credit requirement for the population. The first point was it comes into existence in 1904, and it also supplements the efforts made by commercial bank for meeting the credit needs of the population. So the next point would be it supplements the effort by commercial bank for meeting the needs by people or by population. The cooperative banks fulfill the small scale or the medium scale organization. It fulfills the small scale or medium group. It fulfills the requirements. The third point I will say, it fulfills the requirements by small and medium group. When I am saying small and medium group means it is about agriculture or small scale industries. The first point, it comes into existence in 1904 as the credit society, cooperative credit society. Then the next point was it supplements the efforts which were made by the commercial bank by the fulfilling the needs for the needs of the people. The third point I have mentioned is that it fulfills the needs of small and the medium groups. When I am talking about the small and the medium groups, we are talking about the agriculture or small scale industry. And it comprises of three levels. It comprises of three levels. Those are, the first level is primary, second is district, and the third is state. primary level, that means I am talking about the primary cooperative credit society. Primary cooperative credit society. When I am talking about district level, same way it will be said to be as district cooperative credit society. When I am talking about the state level, it would be a state cooperative credit society. So this is the general basic knowledge about the cooperative bank, that it comes into existence in 1904. It supplements the efforts of the commercial bank for meeting the needs of the people. It fulfills the requirement basically by the small or the medium groups. It comprises of the three levels: state, district and primary level. The primary level is the primary cooperative credit society, district level is the district cooperative credit society, and the state level is state cooperative credit society. There are certain functions of cooperative bank. Let's see one by one. Certain means two functions I will mention. Cooperative banks are organized and managed on the principles of cooperation. Once again, friends, cooperative banks are the organized and managed on the basis of principle of cooperation, that is self-help, mutual help. The work was based on no profit, no loss. That means the cooperative banks are not profit maximization. They are not profit maximization organization. So the first point I will write that the cooperative banks are organized and managed. The cooperative banks are organized and managed on basis of principle of cooperation, basis on principle of cooperation, self-help, mutual help. The work is on basis of no profit, no loss. That means it's not a profit maximization, and basically it helps, as I've told you, it helps the agriculture and small scale industry. It helps agriculture and small scale industry. So this was the short note on the cooperative bank. These are the banks which are not for the profit maximization, and this fulfill the needs of the small and the medium scale or medium scale business or medium scale industry. So not the agriculture and the small scale industry, not medium scale industry. And it comes into existence in 1904, and it comprises of three levels: primary, district and state level. And those are organized on the basis of principle of cooperation. It should be a cooperation between, that is the principle. Self-help and mutual help are the certain principles in the certain management that is done in the cooperative banks. I'll give you some time to read page number 85. Understand it, then we'll start with the Development Financial Institute. Once again, cooperative bank comes into existence It supplements the efforts of commercial bank and meeting the needs of the people. It fulfills the requirement of small and the medium groups. It comprises of state, district and primary level. The primary level is the primary cooperative credit society. District level is the district cooperative credit society. And the state level is the state cooperative credit society. There are certain functions. The first function is that the organization, that cooperative bank are the organized and managed on the basis of principle of cooperation, self-help, mutual help. The work is based on no profit, no loss. That means it's not a profit maximization organization. It helps the agriculture and small scale industries. This was cooperative bank. Let's start with Development Financial Institute. The fourth organized sector is Development Financial Institution, that is DFIs. So Development Financial Institution are the agency that provide medium and long-term assistance to the people who require. Once again, the Development Financial Institution is also known with the name of DFIs. The agency, it is an agency. DFIs also provide as an agency for the medium and long-term assistance in the term of financial assistance. So the first point I will write, it is that it is the agency that provides, DFIs are agency that provide long and medium term financial assistance. That means when we have done the cooperative banks, in that it was providing small and short term requirement of the people. That means it is in Development Financial Institution, it provides medium and long term financial assistance for the financial for the economic development. You can say it helps for the development of industry. It helps for the development industry, agriculture, and that gives in automatically, when the industry and agriculture is growing, automatically it will give towards the economic development. The second point is it helps in industry and agriculture. It helps industry and agriculture and other sector. What are the other sector? Primary, secondary, tertiary sector. They are also known with the DFIs. DFIs are also known as development banks or development financial companies, also known as development bank or development financial companies. Once again, as I have told you in the very first point, DFI agency that provides long-term and medium-term loan. It helps industry and agriculture and other sectors for the financial assistance. It is also known with the development bank and development financial company. When I am talking about development banks and development financial company. That means this banks looks after the development of industry, development of agriculture, development of other sector. So in all, it will look after the economical development. So they are also the financial institution that provides risk capital. Therefore, they can say it is the financial institution. It is the financial institution that provide risk capital for economic development. For economic development. As I have told you, it provides risk capital for economic development, means that there are many banks like IFCI, the Institute of Financial Cooperative in India first came up in 1948. It was the Industrial Financial Corporation of India, IFCI, was first came up in 1948. After that, there were so many banks which were they are looking after for the putting into a universal bank. So the DFI are converting themselves into universal bank, like the ICICI Credit and the ICICI Bank are merged together into an ICICI Bank. So it looks after the development of the people. It is the risk capital. It's risk capital for the development, for an economical development. So the very first point we can say that it is an agency that provide medium and long-term loans or long-term financial assistance. We cannot say loan, long-term financial assistance. Then the second point, it looks for the it helps for the industry and agriculture and other sectors for long-term and for development needs. It is also known as development banks or development company, development financial company. It is the financial institution that provides the risk capital for economical development. The first development financial institution in India was established in 1948, and now the DFIs are looking for the converting into a universal bank by the RBI assistance. So this was a short note on development financial institution DFIs. I give you 30 seconds to read. Then we'll start with the last and the least organized sector, that is the discount financial houses of India. I'll give you 30 seconds to understand that. Then we'll start with the discount financial houses of India. Let's start with discount financial houses. The last organized sector according to our topic is discount and finance house in Finance House of India, which is known as DFHI. Now, Discount Finance House of India was first set up in 1988. It was first set up in 1988, friends, with the help of the Wakul Committee. Now, what is Wakul Committee? In 1987, suggested that all money markets should be purely into an interbank market. The Navapur Committee is like in 1987, it was suggested that whatever the money market is, the call money market is, it should be purely into the money market assistance. So that is, Navapur Committee suggested that call money market should be purely an inter-money market. So the Discount and Financial Houses of India was set up in 1988 as the money market institution based on the recommendation of Navapur Committee. It is a committee which was set up in 1987. It is jointly owned by RBI, public sector, bank and financial institution to impart the liquidity of the money market. So whatever these are the certain sectors like RBI, public sector, the financial institution, they all came together for impart liquidity. Whatever was the long term, it should be converted into liquidity with the help of Discount Financial Houses of India. Here we end with the organized sector of money market. Then we'll start with unorganized sector. As I have told you, unorganized sector is the sector where the government control is negligible due to the market is very small and saturated. It is spread all over. So the government holding is very less. Therefore, the government rules and regulation in unorganized sector is not followed much by them. And they do not have proper timings, working hours, they do not have proper timings and working hours, as we have discussed in the difference between organized and unorganized sector. Let's start with an unorganized sector. There are three unorganized sectors: indigenous bank, money lender, and the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector comprises of three. The very first one is indigenous bank, money lender, and the last one is unregulated non-bank financial intermediaries. Now, the indigenous banks are the banks that are mediators or intermediates of the short-term similar banks. Those are intermediaries of the short-term similar banks. They mostly deal in short-term credit instrument. Before starting with indigenous bank, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Let's begin with organized sector. Organized sector includes those offices or enterprises or places of work where the term of employment is regular and therefore people have assured work. It means that people working in organized sector are paid for the entire year. Also, they cannot be fired from the office without any prior notice or without a genuine reason. So, workers in the organized sector enjoy security of employment. Such institutions in organized sector are registered by the government and have to follow its rules and regulations, which are given in various laws such as Minimum Wages Act, etc. Organized sector also ensures fixed number of hours to work in office. This way, the rights of the workers are safeguarded in the organized sector. Workers of the organized sector also get several other benefits from such employment. For example, paid leaves, payment during holidays, provident fund, gratuity, etc. Not only this, people employed in organized sector tend to get medical benefits as under the law. Besides, the factory or office management has to ensure facilities like clean drinking water and a safe working environment. Now, let's compare it with the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector is characterized by small and scattered units which are largely outside the control of the government. This sector includes a large number of people who are employed on their own, doing small jobs such as selling on the street or doing repair work. There are rules and regulations, but they are not followed in the unorganized sector. Jobs are low paid and often not regular. So, in unorganized sector, people are often not paid for 12 months of the year. Sometimes we may observe that employment is not secure. People can be asked to leave without any reason and without any prior notice. Also, there is no provision for overtime, paid leaves, holidays, leave due to sickness, etc. We may also observe that some people end up working for more than 10 to 12 hours a day. This way, a lot of things depend on the whims of the employers in the unorganized sector. Another issue with the unorganized sector is that it may not guarantee a clean infrastructure and safe working conditions for its workers.
In unorganized sector, there are three types of banks. You can say indigenous bank, the money lenders, unregulated and non-bank financial intermediaries. Let's discuss about indigenous bank. The indigenous banks are the private and individual are the private banks. It's not a private bank, it's a private firms and individual who operates this system. So we can say the first point in they are private firm and individuals who operates as bank. And once again, they are the private firms and individual who operates as bank and they both receives deposit and loan. They have and such has both receive deposits and loan. Like bank, they are also financial intermediaries. Like bank, they are also financial intermediaries. They are mostly operated popularly in village and small towns. Reform activities of trade and their banking activity. They perform the activities like trade and banking system. So indigenous banks are the banks which are organized or which are held by the private firms and individual. They operate as a bank and they are intermediaries. They act as an intermediaries. They take loans, they give loans and take deposits like a bank. So they perform the activities like a trade and banking activities they perform, and they basically deals in handis. What are handis? Handis in subcontinent in India, they were used on those times the handis where the bank transfer funds from one place to other with the help of handis. They give loans and also do the trade and the form of bills of exchange. So these are indigenous bank. Then the money lender, which are also known as sahukars or landlords. So the money lender usually in the money market in unorganized sector, they used to give loans to the village to small scale industry, agriculture in the huge amount of interest they used to take. So those are the money lenders. The money lender mostly operated in the village and usually charged high rate of interest. And you must have heard taking money on the ब्याज से loan लेना है या बात like chit funds, especially in the south, the chit funds and this type of is used in the money lender with the help of money lender. So what they usually do in chit funds, they will collect the funds. Then with that fund, this is basically the chit fund system is basically unregulated non-banking financial intermediaries. But in money lender, they will give loans to the people and charge high rate of interest. And the last one is financial, the non-regulated, the unregulated non-banking financial intermediaries. In this, the nidhi, loans, the chit funds, they are included. What is chit funds? They will collect every month the money. With the help of the check, the random check they will collect to that person, the money will go like this, the cycle will go on. So nidhi and chit funds will also be done. Those are unregulated organization. Let's read in page number 86 for the unregulated bank financial intermediaries. They include chit funds, nidhi, companies, etc. Under the chit fund, member makes regular contribution to the fund. As I have told you, they will contribute regularly in the fund. For bids and drawings are made on the basis of criteria of mutual agreement upon the member. There would be a mutual agreement like 10 people are putting regularly fund. So once they will take out the checks, okay, this person A will get on the first month, B will get on the second month, C will get on the third month on the mutual understanding. According to this, collection funds are given on the chosen member. Chit fund mostly operated in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. This is mostly operated. Most of the monks also do this nowadays. They will put a chit fund. The nidhi is also a type of mutual benefit fund thrives on the contribution of member. Loans are provided to member on the reasonable rate of interest. They provide loans to a trade and small scale industry and self-employment person. Being unorganized, they charge high rate of interest. So these are the unorganized sector, three unorganized sector: ingenious banks, money lender, and the unregulated non-financial banking, non-banking financial intermediaries. This will unorganized sector. Here we'll end the session for today. Here itself. A small revision, you have to read. A small homework, you have to read and you have to do your worksheet.